Hi, everyone. This is the preview segment of Derby Watch. This week and next, there are fewer Kentucky Derby prep races than we've become accustomed to, but there is one key prep this weekend and one very good horse. David, who is that in the Tampa Bay Derby?
That is the Todd Pletcher trained Tapit Trice, who I believe is still at 15-1 on Derby Watch. I kept him at that price, kind of anticipating the result that I know a lot of us do expect on Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. He's a horse that has generated a lot of buzz, people impressed by his allowance victory last time at Gulfstream. So we're excited to see what he can do in his stakes debut on Saturday.
Yeah, David and I are taping this segment before the draw for the Tampa Bay Derby. So let's hope he draws well, Tapit Trice. And in the meantime, let's see what this guy looks like on paper. It's a pretty good career so far. He's improved each subsequent start. He lost his debut, no big deal. Came right back and won by a neck over Slip Mahoney. But then last time out, Tapit Trice took a huge step forward, winning an allowance race around one turn at Gulfstream Park. I think that 2 turns is going to be ideal for Tapit Trice. That's what he looks like on paper. Let's take a look at let's see what he looks like on video. David, tell us what you saw in this one other than at Gulfstream.
He's just a horse that has taken a step forward with each start. He'd actually shown a lot of promise in that debut loss at Aqueduct, was game to win his next start. And then this time, really nice to see him draw away from competition in the late stages of this race. And you have to like the way he's lengthening his stride and finishing through the wire, running all the way. So definitely giving some confidence that he's going to be able to handle some added ground. And his pedigree certainly supports that notion. He is by Tapit, who has sired Belmont Stakes winners. He's out of a dam who was by Dunkirk, who himself almost won the Belmont Stakes, and his dam is actually a half-sister to Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner Jaywalk. So there is a lot of stamina pedigree for Tapit Trice to handle added ground, but you do want to see him actually do it on the racetrack on Saturday.
Yeah, there's also a lot at stake in the Tampa Bay Derby because going in, Tapit Trice has 0 Derby qualifying points. David, I agree with how well he finishes, Tapit Trice. You brought up once or twice that if there is a flaw, and I'm not saying there is, but you'd like to see him come out of the gate a little bit quicker. I guess I could say the same thing about Skinner in California, but what about the starts for Tapit Trice?
It's something you actually see with a lot of the progeny of Tapit. They can just be a little bit goofy, and Tapit Trice definitely takes after that sire line, and he's done it in every single start. He just leaves the gate after the other horses. It can kind of be tough to see the head-on of the starts at Gulfstream, but it appeared he did the exact same thing in his last race of that one-turn mile allowance. So small field last time, so he was able to overcome that poor start and get right back into the race. If this Tampa Bay Derby does draw a larger field, and I think we're expecting around 10 horses, if he breaks slowly and has to come from the back of the pack, that could be some added adversity that this horse has to deal with. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles all of those new obstacles on Saturday.
Tapit Trice is going to be heavily favored in the Tampa Bay Derby. In a preview story in Daily Racing Form, DRF reporter Marty McGee talked to Tapit Trice's co-owner Mandy Pope. He also talked to Mark Casse, who trains Classic Car Wash. And Casse actually had kind of an interesting take with regards to the Tampa Bay Derby, which is run at 1 mile and 1/16. And Casse told Marty McGee that he would like to see this race lengthened to 1 mile and 1/8 because there's not a whole lot of progression at Tampa Bay. The Sam Davis was 1 mile and 1/16. Now we have the Tampa Bay Derby at 1 mile and 1/16. Casse was comparing the potential stretch out of the Tampa Bay Derby to 9 furlongs to what has transpired at Fairgrounds. Fairgrounds a couple of years ago lengthened their Derby preps. I thought it was kind of an interesting comment that Casse made with regards to maybe this race should be a little bit longer than 1 mile and 1/16. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think connections want to find out sooner rather than later if their horses can handle the added ground. And with these horses just running less in general in the modern age, you do want to get the answers to those questions before they actually do run in the Kentucky Derby. Todd Pletcher probably wouldn't have minded that if it was a 9 furlong race for Tapit Trice, because he certainly seems like a horse that would be cut out to go that far eventually. But 1 mile and 1/16 will be the distance they're dealing with. And really, it seems like, based on the probables that I've seen, Tapit Trice is going to have to beat mostly the horses from the Sam F. Davis Davis. And I know that we were not too thrilled with the horses coming out of that race. I think the second, third, and fourth place finishers were all supposed to be entered back in this Tampa Bay Derby.
I don't think anybody was really all that impressed with the Sam Davis. The Grade 2 Tampa Bay Derby, over the years, it has produced some pretty good horses. Let's take a look real quickly at some recent notable Tampa Bay runners. In 2017, Tapit won the Tampa Bay Derby. He came back and won the Belmont. Super Saver, he finished third in the Tampa Bay Derby, won the Derby. Musket Man, a winner, Derby third. Street Sense in 07, a winner of both races. Bluegrass Cat and Menifee both ran well in the Tampa Bay Derby. They both ran well in the Kentucky Derby. So we're going to find out more about Tapit Trice. Who knows? Maybe somebody will pop up and surprise us Saturday at Tampa Bay. Okay, it's time for the On the Bubble segment. 4 horses who we've discussed who are at least worthy of mention. Tall Boy is based in Dubai at Maidan. He scored he scored a win in the group 3 over there. He's headed to the UAE Derby on March 25th. It's a very bizarre route he's taking, trying to get to the Kentucky Derby from California to Dubai to possibly the Kentucky Derby if he runs 1-2 in the UAE Derby. Cyclone Mischief, David, this horse, I don't really like him, but you have to at least give him credit for finishing third in the Fountain of Youth, and I guess we'll find out more about him. We suspect he's going to run in the Florida Derby. What about Cyclone Mischief? What do you do with him?
I think there's an argument that maybe he wasn't on the best part of the racetrack in the Fountain of Youth, but he still wasn't finishing off that race as strongly as you might want to see. When I take a look at him physically and taking into account his 1 mile allowance victory, I kind of get the sense that he might ultimately turn out to be more of a one-turn horse. Obviously, Dale Romas is going to give him one more shot in the Kentucky Derby prep, so we'll learn more about him likely in the Florida Derby, but I'd be a little bit surprised if he really does assert himself as a legitimate contender for that race.
Well, speaking of potential one-turn horses, I think you could say the same thing about Iron Clover. There was some talk that he was using the Gotham as a potential segue toward the Arkansas Derby after he finished a better than looked fourth in the Gotham, talking about Iron Clover. There was some talk that maybe he will shorten up to a sprint race such as the Bayshore. I thought he ran fairly well in the Gotham. The pace scenario was against him, so we're going to find out more about Iron Clover. And what about General Banker? All he does is go run around the track, finish third, and accumulate points. I guess we should talk about him as at least somebody who's going to be in the gate in the Kentucky Derby if he comes and hits the board in the Wood Memorial. What about General Banker, David?
Yeah, General Banker is an easy horse to root for. He's a New York bred with humble beginnings, and he just is a hard knocker that keeps picking up checks in these races, finishing third in the Jerome, the Withers, and now the Gotham. All the Derby preps they've run so far in New York, he's been third in all of them. Probably going to be tougher to pull off that same feat in the Wood Memorial, but he's defied expectations so far. He's a big price every time, so I guess he's the kind of horse that you don't want to count out of your trifectas and superfectas.
Yeah, if you're playing vertical exotics in the Wood Memorial or the Kentucky Derby, you got to use General Banker. Okay, that's a wrap. Tapit Trice is the favorite in the Tampa Bay Derby. Tall Boy, Cyclone Mischief, Iron Clover, and General Banker on the bubble. David Aragona will see you next week. I will see you in 2 weeks. That's a wrap for Derby Watch. We'll see you next time.